Tokyo 2, Jock Fairweather, to the stage. Jock never expected to be running one of Brisbane's most popular co-working spaces, but he is. He spent his earlier years in business building a women's luxury shoe label in Europe that broke records within the fashion industry. After parting ways with this brand and with the Swiss Equity Group, Jock returned to Brisbane and launched Little Tokyo 2, helping to connect entrepreneurs, startups, freelancers, and small business in a vibrant, collaborative environment. Jock has since added many strings to his bow, from mentor to speaker, to I-Awards judge, and to AIIA council member. He's currently driving Little Tokyo 2's expansion into Springfield's IDEA City Precinct, I hope I got that right, and into Brisbane City Council's $5 million startup incubator, The Capital. Jock will talk to us today about the trust economy. He'll be speaking about the importance of building trust with consumers, collaborating with closed networks, and scaling personalisation. I'd like you to welcome Jock Fairweather.
Morning. Hi everyone. Thank you for having me. So let me move this little mouse guy out of the way. So, I suppose I'm the first Uber off the app. Get it? Just came off the rank. Okay. That's all right. Anyway, just what Dan was saying, does anybody else in this room know what the one common element is about all of the most recent unicorns? Uber, Airbnb, so on, so on, so on. Anyone take a guess?
They don't want any infrastructure.
No. That's a good guess though. No, good guess though.
Peer review.
They solve a real problem?
No, good guess though. The answer is the founder started that company when they were under 30. Every single one of the last biggest unicorns that have come out, I learned that from the ex-CEO of RBS. So speaking of Uber, I remember I'd just come back from Europe and Uber had just come out in Brisbane. Maybe it was 2 years ago, so at least I'd just gotten wind of it here in Brisbane. And I'd got a taxi because I lived out in Brookfield, which was, 35 minutes drive outside Brisbane, and Ubers didn't come there at that point. I see now they've got a booking or schedule thing, I saw that the other day. And anyway, I had to call a taxi, and a yellow cab came out, and the man came in, and I got in the cab with the man. His name is Mohammed, and we just started talking about things, and of course Uber came up, and he started bashing Uber, and he was talking about how they're taking all his business and so on and so forth. And I said, listen, the reason I use Uber is because it's easier to use. Like, it's just very, very quick. I don't have to worry about paying you at the end. I just hop in, hop out, and I can get through the city, and it's really quick. And I said, look, you guys, you as drivers are literally the same as Uber drivers as drivers. The difference is the Uber app just makes it easier. It's the only reason I use them. But if you, Mr. Mohammed, made a little video and somehow got your video campaign in front of me, and you told me that you'd been here for 20 years and your whole family had grown up here and you like cricket and your favourite Australian player is Michael Clark or whoever it is, and you love driving people around, you're doing this to give your kids like a shot at life. You gave me a number. Chances are every time I ever wanted to book a cab or an Uber, I'd book it with you because I would trust you straight away. So my talk today is all about building trust in this sort of digital economy and why trust will become more and more important. And my only goal really today, as the first Uber off the app, is to provoke some thoughts to make you think a little bit outside the box so that you can use the actual useful speakers later today to your advantage, and you can put some things together to come out with some really great outcomes from this symposium. So I'm going to start on a little bit of a journey, and I kind of made this journey up, but it makes sense in my crazy mind, so bear with me. So back in the day with the Vikings, they'd go out and they'd rape and they'd pillage, and they'd pick all the best women and they'd pick all the best jewels and they'd take it back to wherever they are in Shetland, and they'd give it to some sort of treasurer. When the Vikings went out the next time, some other sort of stay-at-home Vikings would pillage the treasurer. So the Vikings had put trust in the treasurer, but then he got hurt and he lost the jewels, so he lost the trust. So little Gringle, or whatever the Lord of the Rings guys is, he needed some protection. So he started using the money from the Vikings to pay some mafia, and the mafia started looking after the Gringle. And then the mafia is also built on trust. And the mafia has to trust his mafiosos to go out and look after whatever it is he needs looking after. But after a while, the mafiosos got a bit greedy, and they started stealing and doing things that weren't part of the mafia's culture. And so on and so forth, the shared economy came. And the shared economy, for me, was started by Uber, but the first cab off the rank was Facebook. Now, what Uber has done is given us all the ability to do things in our own right, to do things in our own time, to gain the trust of people through a little piece of technology. Although we're still getting into a stranger's cab, I think without the piece of technology, without knowing you, I wouldn't hop into your car and let you drive me around. So I think that whole thing is based around trust, and the absolute crux of the shared economy and the economy that we're in now is based on trust. So my whole life, my dad told me that you had to run a business like the mafia. But my whole life, my mum told me the business was about karma. And so I had to choose somewhere in the middle. And I think that what I've been able to do with Little Tokyo 2 is control some influence over some people. But the way that I've done it is by giving first and adding value first, not taking. So Little Tokyo 2 started approximately 20 months ago. And literally what I did was I said to my 10 friends who are all struggling business that I'd buy a house and the 10 of them could live there. And I'd literally be their personal BDM. So if they wanted to meet Dan, I could make it happen. If they wanted to meet the CEO of Optus, I could make it happen. If they want to learn something, I'd bring someone to teach them. And that's all I was going to do. So the 10 of them said, great, as long as we can have a symposium after. No, I'm just playing. They literally said, as long as we can drink beers too. And I said, of course we can drink beers. So while I was out looking for places and talking to people about this idea, of which I had no idea it was co-working, I started connecting people to them already. We didn't have this house, they weren't living there, but I started adding value before I bought a house, before I created a company name, before I'd done anything. And they started telling other people. So suddenly I had 20 people calling me, and I needed to buy a bigger house. And I walked into the original Little Tokyo, and I promised Michiko, who's 99 this year, that I would keep the name, the culture, the structure, the color, anything and everything that she had, and I'd keep it forever. In fact, if you do a tour through the Capitol, which is our new site in Brisbane City, I've got her original kimonos hanging right there in the entrance, so you can see that we've honored what we said that we would. So building that trust has been really important for my business model because we didn't have a model at the beginning. All I knew was that I was just going to work my butt off to do anything and everything for my friends, and that sooner or later we'd start getting some money. So 20 months later or so, we got approached by Springfield Land Corporation to have a talk about what we might be able to do out of Springfield. And I knew that there were other spaces operating, there were universities out there, there was USQ, there were chambers, and there was all these kind of things. And what Springfield had a problem was it's a land corporation, so it needs to be commercial, it needs to make money off its land. So when it tells everybody or the community out in Springfield that we're going to build a new parking lot, all the community of Springfield goes, we don't want a parking lot, there's like 10 million parking spaces out there. It doesn't make sense. We want a water slide. And then Springfield Land Corporation goes, why would we do a water slide? We can't make money off a water slide. So they needed someone in between that could build the trust and convince each party to make things happen. So we went out there, we met all the key stakeholders, 10 key stakeholders, the unis, the chambers, the council, everybody. We sat there and we said, look, this is what you do, this is your vision, this is what you want to do, and here's how we'll come and we'll work with you without stepping on your toes. It was a tender process. I handed in those 10 MOUs to Springfield Land Corp, and they said, here you are, you win. It didn't go out to anyone else, they just said, you win. And we did that through building trust with every key stakeholder there and showing that we actually cared about all of the people in Springfield. So the way that we're going to continue our growth is we're enabling what we do with spaces as a catalyst with technology. And so we've got an application in-house, a software called Superglue, and what it does is it lets people chat, book mentors, book rooms, and give each other high fives and say, I want to go out for lunch with someone. You just press a button and it puts the message out to say, anyone in this room want to go out for lunch with me. All these kinds of things. And the way we're going to build onto it is we're going to start bringing in partner organisations. So an organisation like the Australian Israel Chamber of Commerce, of which we trust highly and we do a lot of things with. I know Simon White very well. So what we'll do is we'll bring them on board and we'll give them a platform to be able to organise and run their community. And what we'll be able to offer to Australian Israel Chamber is a lot of data that they never had about the people in their group, because right now they advertise things on Facebook, they might speak in Slack, they do Eventbrite for their event bookings, and they do Meetup to promote the events. Whatever it is, it's very, very mixed, and they can't get any data from any of it. So if we put it all into one platform that's called superglue.aicc, they can control and curate their entire community, and they can receive data around who their community is talking to, their zero fractions, where they're going, what they're doing, everything. And they can use that to continue to influence their community. In that way, so can we. And as we bring on more partner organisations, we can start becoming the support system for SEQ or the support system for entrepreneurs. It doesn't really matter. And we'll destroy our own business model by making all of our assets fluid. So Australian Israel Chamber of Commerce might make a co-working space, it doesn't really matter. But what they can do is they can upload their desks, they can upload their courses, they can upload their mentors, and we can enable the transaction between all of the innovative communities in Southeast Queensland to support each other. And in that way, we become the curators of innovative outcomes. And we could provide things like data on Taj Babari, who came and saw me in 2014. He just pitched to an entire room of investors about a DIY tablet that once you build it, it would teach you to code. And they said, piss off you go, you're 14, you don't know anything, good luck. He came in the very next day to Little Tokyo 2 and he told me the story. I was like, oh, Jesus, come with me. And I put him in touch with all the mentors that I thought he needed. I put him in touch with his original investors. And 2 years later, approximately, he launched 56 creations, of which he did $5 million in the first day at 16. The reason I was able to give him money early on was because I was able to see his growth personally, literally face to face. And it's something that banks, it's something that venture capital firms can't do like we can do. So in that way, we might be able to become the influencing bank of the future. I don't know. There's a company called Riot Games. It started in the US, and it's built a computer game called League of Legends. And it put all this money into League of Legends, and a lot of people play League of Legends. But their business model is surrounded completely around empowering their players. So what they do is they have competitions, and as like teams playing the competitions, they can win prizes, of which are sponsored by groups like ACOM or whoever. So they don't fork out any money, and they get all this PR for the teams that play these competitions. And as they go higher and higher, they get to a certain level of competition called OPL. And if you're in the top 8 in the world, you're in the OPL. So what Riot does is it subsidizes almost every single thing the team does in the OPL, because you guys are the ones that get watched. So you guys are the ones that bring people into playing the game to purchase little things in the game. And so what it does is subsidizes everything, and it spends all of the money that it makes on promoting your teams to make you more famous, to get you more followers, to get more people playing the game. So its literal entire business model is funding the people that play its game to play its game. What an insane but incredibly cool business model. So the entire story and journey that I just went on was all about people and trust. Doing things that big companies, maybe like CBA, wouldn't do. Because they're the things that let the startups get ahead. I believe that business will go a full circle, and there'll be more and more one-on-one businesses, more and more people working for themselves, being ad hoc and agile freelancers. The rules will become less and less, and freedom will become more and more. The influencers will become more powerful, Somehow we've let Trump get in the final two. I'm not sure how that works, but that's just a sign for the future, in my opinion. So how do we combat the Trumps? Maybe the future of banks are emotional banks. Maybe World Vision will become a bank. Maybe with all of its influence in the future, Little Token will become an influencer bank. Maybe there'll be a knowledge bank like Facebook, because it sees everything that we do online. It sees what we like, it sees what we dislike, it sees everything. And maybe there'll be a personalized bank like Google, because it has every bit of data that we've ever put online. So how will you guys in this room become the bank that supports and takes clip of everything that happens out there, rather than being the one that controls it? Can you become the marketplace bank? I know that a $60 billion company called Cisco has produced an IoT platform that connects every single sensor in any room, in any place, and puts it all in an open API onto a data display that anybody can use. And it has nothing to do with selling hardware. I was literally with them yesterday. Nothing to do with it. That's the future of Cisco. So how can a bank replicate something like that? For me, business is about karma. And maybe the first bit is to implement some sort of application, like being the acorn for trust. I think give first and then you shall receive. So trust is about staying true to promises. It's about being loyal, and it's about looking after people. So burn the boats and think about how you can flip the banks back to supporting people. Thanks.